What are the most emotional and mental struggles kids are struggling with today?
I think a lot of emotions are always a web.
Why do kids feel that they can't talk openly about their pain?
I think the question is, why do kids feel they can't talk openly about their pain to their parents?
What are the signs that parents and schools miss when it comes to suicidal thoughts, self-harm?
It's a difficult one because sometimes children, they learn to cope with it quite well. So sometimes they don't show any sign of it.
If you can change one thing in the school system to promote mental health, what would it be?
It's something that maybe I've developed at the school, and I think that's where it all feeds off is having, and I've called it a wellness department.
School, parent, teachers, and then professional psychologists. Okay, let's do further fourth one. What can they do to work together better for mental health?
I really want to say we need to learn to trust each other.
What else can we use to hold teachers accountable for emotional damage without blame? We don't want to blame them because a lot of times it's probably not their fault.
It's not.
This episode is powered by Gym Store, your one-stop shop for commercial grade and home gym equipment.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Endure Edge, South Africa's #1 health and wellness podcast. Today we've got an educational psychologist in the studio. There's a lot that happens in this world where we talk about adults and mental health, anxiety, depression, but I feel the world is forgetting about the kids. And I thought I'm going to bring in Nikita Ghisleni. Did I say it correctly?
You did.
Welcome to the Endure Edge.
Thank you for having me.
Nikita deals with kids on an everyday basis in different schools. She's got her own private practice. And we thought I'd pick your brain a bit on what's going out there, because I feel that's where it all starts.
Yes.
You know, us adults who battle with emotional damage, anxiety, depression, it starts at the young age.
Definitely does.
What have you seen happening in the schools at the moment with the kids?
There's a lot happening. I think the generation that we have nowadays, it's been labeled the loneliest generation that we currently have, which I think speaks volumes. We have a generation that is facing an epidemic of anxiety, depression, and really struggling with emotional regulation. And I agree with you, it starts from childhood. Childhood itself has changed so much, where childhood used to be play-based. You used to go outside, you used to play, you used to take risks, you used to get into trouble and there was consequences. Nowadays, childhood is phone-based. And I think that is a pivotal or fundamental change in our childhood that is no longer building the right foundation for the generations that are coming.
So you think it starts off with the devices, basically?
Absolutely. So, I mean, our children nowadays, you know, there is a huge, lost my words here.
Take your time.
There's a huge push for parents going, you know, I'm not going to give my child a device until the age 2, which is great. It should be until the age around about 12. When we're getting children that are on devices younger and younger, we're seeing simple things like a lack of coordination, a lack of core strength. And those are simple things that now when you're in the class and you're trying to work, you actually can no longer do that. Everything becomes more difficult. Now, not only that, but we're lacking connection. We're lacking modeling other behavior. And that is something that's so important for a child, of how to learn how to face life. When I get to see that my parents are struggling with something and how they've managed, I model that, and that teaches me how to regulate my own emotions.
Okay, now you've worried me, because
I've
got a 6-year-old, and I'll be honest, he loves a device.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay? And it's also easy for us as parents to go and say, here's the device, I need to cook. Here's the device, I need to work. Here's the device, I want my time. You lie there, I'm here. That's, I'll be honest. And when I don't give the device, there's also chaos in the household. So how do we manage that? Do we just let the chaos happen? Get rid of that habit?
So it is a habit, as you said. And it is a difficult one, because if your child has all they know is that's how I need to play, devices steal children's boredom. They don't actually know how to be bored anymore because they're continuously stimulated. As soon as something's popping up on that phone, there's that hit of dopamine, and they're just loving it.
Yeah.
So yes,
it's like a drug. It is a drug.
It is a drug.
Yeah.
We're getting our children from such a young age to be addicted to devices. We're enabling that as parents, as adults, and we don't even notice. When you were a child, your parents still work. They still have to cook. What did you go do?
I got Blixen.
When they were like, we need our own time, what did you go do?
Yeah,
Played
I went to play
outside.
with the neighbor outside, played street cricket.
We're no longer giving our children the freedom to play, to have an imagination, to fall off the jungle gym. I mean, yes, we want them to take those risks, because taking risks, learning how to play with others, all of that builds resilience. I don't believe that the children we have nowadays are weaker than what they used to be. Their childhood is what has made their childhood is weaker than what it is, because it doesn't allow for them to build any resilience or coping skills.
Okay, so they're now going into grade 1.
Yes.
They've been brought up with devices.
Yes.
Okay, all of them, we know that. They're now going into grade 1. The school have got computer rooms. The school teach them to use devices.
Correct.
How is that monitoring the kids? How are they controlling that? Monitoring is the wrong word. How are they controlling the kids and devices at school?
It's a difficult one. I think it was last week, I did a workshop. I don't know if you know Emma Sadler. She's one of the lawyers,
Yes.
all on social media. Amazing
Yes.
work that she's doing. And she actually spoke in her workshop about how parents should not be sending their children to schools in primary school where they have to be on a device. Her whole thing is how she wants to actually put it into law in South Africa.
So like where school says you got to have an iPad or a
She said
tablet.
no. When you're in high school, different story. But from primary school, the answer should be no. My child does not even. If your school needs that, and it's like, okay, that's the school we want to send our child to. We want them maybe to have the advanced of technologies. Perfect. But however, that needs to be very limited and very, very controlled. Our children, we are exposing them to terrible things on the internet that they should never, ever be witnessing at a young age. So unless that device remains at school and it is used and it's monitored and you've got all your security measures in place, and it's only used when it's really, really needed. But if we're no longer using it, we're no longer learning how to write and how to do basic fine motor skills, we're then leading a generation that's going to struggle as they grow up with sports, with all of that, because you need to develop that from that young age.
Yeah, because I've noticed even in the schools, the whiteboards are interactive.
Correct. Which is great, because I think there's also a positive that comes, because not every child learns in the same way. So it also allows for us to show that video clip in the class. It allows for us to maybe have a picture that is a little bit interactive. But everything needs to be in moderation. There still needs to be, we learn best when we use all our senses. We learn best when we're able to read, when we're able to write, when we're able to feel. And that's what we're taking away from our kids. When they're going to grade 1, they're struggling with attention. Why? Because I've been on my device every day, and that hit of dopamine, I'm lacking.
And that's where all these emotional and mental struggles are coming from.
That's what I believe.
No, it makes sense. It really does. But what are the most common, and I'm going from primary school to high school now. Okay, in general, what are the most emotional and mental struggles kids are struggling with today?
Sure. I think a lot of emotions are always a web. And I think it's hard to just say it's exactly it. I mean, I could use broad terms like they're all struggling with anxiety and depression. But I think to actually try to pin it down to one particular thing is difficult. But a lot of them are struggling. I would say they lack a self-confidence to have conversations. They lack and they so want connection with other people. And a lot of that is so intertwined, because if now I'm someone that is forever on a device and I actually don't know how to even converse like that, me going to school and trying to make friends and fit in is a very difficult thing. I then hate going to school. I become very lonely. I maybe then it happens that, unfortunately, it happens in schools where there is bullying and I do get picked on. Now that feeds my narrative that I believe that, I'm not really good enough. Why? Because my environment is showing me that. So a lot of the kids are struggling with their identity, of knowing who they are, fitting in. And that's also just that phase of adolescence. It's very common. For them, they build their identity based on their peers' opinions on them. So if I'm not getting positive opinions, I'm not going to be able to build a positive self-concept. There are other things like a lot of the children, unfortunately, come from homes where there has been divorce, and that can be really difficult. We get things where there's also abuse in the homes, whether it's physical, emotional, alcohol abuse. So that we get all of those emotions which we've always seen. However, the emotional things that we're getting with our children nowadays is very different to what we've seen before, and that is because they are so lonely, so lonely.
How do we miss it, those parents?
I don't know if we can just blame the parents. Like, I don't know if it's
No, so I'm not blaming the parents.
Yeah.
But we're missing this in our kids. Like you say, they're lonely. They can't. We're missing that. We're not seeing that. We think things are hunky dory.
I think it depends if it's a boy or a girl. Boys, culture has our society culture has shown boys, and I think still till today, even though we believe maybe these stigmas are changing as the different generations are evolving, but boys are still always taught, you gotta be strong. You don't show your emotions. So in boys, we kind of see it in a way where they can maybe be more aggressive. They withdraw a lot more, but they don't ever actually voice it. Where with girls, we see a very different side. We can see those emotions because girls don't mind maybe crying or moaning and coming home. It doesn't matter how our children are going to show that. We need to try to see beyond that behavior. But the most important thing, and I think this is sometimes where the parents sometimes don't get it wrong, is their response. And that's what I often see, where children will come and I work with them for quite a while, and I finally get to that point of like, this is it. They're showing all the aggression, they're misbehaving in class, they're showing to fit in, but it actually has nothing to do with that. That's just the byproducts of what's actually happening. We finally get to the core issue here, and we start going, all right, you're showing with anxiety, you're showing with this, let's give you all the tools. And we get the point where we finally get the child to say, can we bring the parents into the therapeutic space? Now, that's hard for a teenager because they're going, what are you going to share with them? And for me, I always say, you're going to be here. The parents are going to join in this conversation. What am I allowed to say? And the parents respond so poorly that it breaks everything you have worked within the therapeutic space. Their response is sometimes like, well, carry on. Life's hard. And you're like, that's not what they needed to hear from you.
And I'm smiling. I'm the first parent to look at my 15-year-old son and say, stay hard. Go watch David Goggins.
And they do need to. But have we given them the skills from young of what it means to be hard? And a lot of times that's what we haven't. So we say like... Especially today's times. I think when we were children and growing up, we were given that chance to build all those skills because we didn't have devices. They didn't exist, There was maybe a few hours on TV that you could maybe go watch a show or something like that. That was it.
Yeah, so KTV was from 3 to 5 and it would stop.
And that was it,
I don't know if you might be too young for KTV.
No, I watched KTV. And that was all you could watch. And if you didn't like it, you didn't like it. The shows that we watched on KTV, so different. Yeah. Not this overstimulating information that we're getting. So sometimes you'd even get bored of what you're watching, and then what do? Go play a game outside. Yeah. So the way our childhood allowed for us to develop those skills, nowadays, children's childhoods are not allowing for them to develop it, but our adult response is still the same of be tough. It was fine when our parents did that to us because we actually had those skills. They brought us up in that way. Unknowingly go play outside, they were actually doing the best thing.
Yes. Adult warning signs, adults, and I want to bring in teachers here too, because I think teachers are playing a big role in kids' lives at the moment, and I'm going to dive deeper into that. But early warning signs that we should look out for, that we shouldn't be missing when it comes to anxiety, depression, loneliness, all those other things that we can talk about.
And I agree with you. I think teachers nowadays, their role's huge. They train just to be academic facilitators. That's their role. But nowadays, most often, they are our children's emotional first responders when crisis happens. Yeah. They spend the most time with children on a day-to-day basis. Teachers' jobs are difficult. Before I was a psychologist, I was a teacher. So I taught for 5 years. I then carried on with my studies. And I think it was being a teacher that pushed me to want to gain more knowledge so that I could help. Because as a teacher, you feel helpless. These children come to you, you see the warnings.
Well, why do they feel helpless? Because I actually think they haven't been taught.
But that is that we're not trained.
Yeah, no teachers are trained.
Not at all.
My ex-wife was a teacher, and I don't know about her being trained. Maybe it's happened now, but I don't think it has.
Not
Being
at
trained,
all.
firstly, to look out for the warning signs, and to see this kid, there's a problem here.
Yeah.
This kid's got anxiety. I mean, even ADHD. I mean,
a simple learning disorder a difficulty that they could
I've
be
seen
having.
teachers, the first thing they go is medicate the kid.
Correct. Because that's a quick fix.
Yeah.
So
but
it's helpful.
quick fixes don't always work,
No, they don't.
especially long term.
Our degrees, they don't. Some universities, they might have an element of psychology in their degree, which is great. However, it doesn't help you. You could even then go after doing your teaching degree and go and do your honors in psychology. It still doesn't help you.
Yeah. You need
Only
to practice.
once you get into masters are you actually learning how to do it, how to actually have the skills. Before that, it's all just theoretical kind of stuff. So first of all, yes, teachers are not trained. They're not trained at all how to identify it and then when to make the right referrals. Because I agree, their go-to is medicate. And sometimes that is not the right referral. But as a teacher, you're sitting there, maybe you're lucky enough that you're sitting with 20, but most teachers are sitting 30, 40 in a class. You are overwhelmed. You cannot know what to do. So what do? We just push back and we say medication. And it's not wrong, because for some kids, that does help them get them through school.
For sure, I'm not against it.
But it is not solving the core issue that they're actually having. So yes, we could provide our teachers with more training, and I think that would be great. I don't think, though, that we should put that onto our teachers, because they're already in a system that is so stressful, that's so overloaded. You've seen teachers nowadays that are leaving the profession because they are burnt out.
In South Africa.
In South Africa, particularly in South Africa.
Okay.
I know many people that I studied with, and all of them have done about 7 years of teaching, and they're all going, we're done. We are now going and finding a new career.
And they're the good teachers we need.
Exactly. And I think there's so many trouble. So I don't think, yes, I think that's maybe an interim solution. Let's train our teachers more. But is that fair to put more onto them? No, it's not. All right? Do we need to train our teachers how to pick up the signs? They pick up the signs unknowingly because they spend so much time with the children. The first sign that we're going to see is a shift in their behavior. So they're going to be able to pick up, sure, this child's quiet all of a sudden, or they're fighting all of a sudden with other peers. Disruptive. They pick up those signs and they go, we don't know what's wrong. I know when I'm working, often teachers will say, I've referred a kid to, I don't know what's wrong, but something's different. And they are spot on that something is happening in that child's life. They can't put their finger on it, they don't know, but they see that shift in behavior. That is all we can expect from our teachers, is to pick that up and refer. However, our schools are not built to have a system where the teachers can refer to. A lot of the times when our children need help, they need to go private. Very few schools, and especially our government schools, are fortunate enough to have a registered counselor or a social worker or a psychologist actually on their team. Our parents cannot afford those. Many of our parents can't. Some are fortunate and they can, but many cannot actually afford the rates to go into the private sector.
Yeah. These mental battles these kids are facing, how young do they actually start?
I know that the youngest I work with in my private practice is 5.
5 years already.
5 years old.
So early.
So early. And that's a range of things. And a lot of that shows up in emotional dysregulation, where it'll be outbursts and tantrums. But that is their body saying, we are not managing, we are not coping.
Yeah.
And
it's not them being naughty.
It's really
as we
not.
think as parents.
Exactly. And in the end, as a parent, you're so frustrated and you cannot understand what is happening. And it's so amazing to be able to work, because when a child's 5, 6, 7, even maybe 8, our work is mainly with the parent. Yes, we do play therapy with that child and we teach them a lot of those skills, but the main work comes from the adults, because we need, or the parents, we need to understand what is that environment, what is happening there, and what do we need to shift in it to allow for things to feel more at ease and for the child to be able to regulate better, whether it's switching between playtime to bath time and then bath time to bed, which can be really difficult. It's about how then do we structure that in a way that is not too rigid, that even removing devices, how do we change
Yeah.
that?
What's
That
the
it-
process?
What is the process?
Got to wean them off, probably.
You have to wean them off.
You can't just
It's
take it
literally
away.
a drug,
Yeah.
which is scary. Yes.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So it's making me think now.
But I'm also going to say yes, the whole drive now, and I mean that's why a lot of the schools are going cell phone free, and that it is. There's a whole campaign about let's not give our children devices before the age of 12. But there's everything in moderation still. Yes, as a parent, when you're so frustrated and you just cannot.
There's a place for it before
There
12.
is a place
I mean,
for it.
I've seen my 5-year-old know things from YouTube that I've never heard in my life before.
As long as we've made sure that there's nothing else they can access on that device.
Yeah.
And that there are no social media. There are nothing, because social media, when I'm working with adolescents, that is the hardest place for them. And that tips their mental health. Because now we're going on social media and we're posting things. And what are we now looking at? We're looking for those likes. We're looking for those comments. We're looking for the dopamine
We're not
hits.
getting them.
We're not getting them. Now, my next friend posts something and she gets 1,000 likes. Well, how is that possible when I posted the exact same picture? Not only am I posting, but I'm seeing other people's stories. When I'm in a state of anxiety and depression, I can't think that people are, like, often I'll say it to kids, like, do you think their life is really like that? Like, every day it's just so amazing. And I said, like, do you really think that's possible? Do you not think that only ever posting the good things in life?
Yeah, it was for that 10 minutes.
That's
After that, something else
it
happened. Yeah.
But when you're in a state of such depression, you can't see past that. You just feel like
Your mind
everyone
blocks
else's
it off.
life is better. And it feeds your depression. And what does social media do? Now it starts seeing what are the things you're seeing, you watching. So it feeds your depression even more because of the algorithms that are on there.
Yeah.
The first thing I say to people when they're suffering from anxiety and depression, get off social media.
And that's for adults
Please.
too.
Adults,
Yeah.
absolutely. It doesn't get off because it knows it's feeding that. You don't even realize it anymore. If I'm in therapy and I'll say, right, let's look through your Instagram, and I look through, I'm like, can you see how sad this actually is? I'm like, this is feeding. And they're like, wow, I've never seen that. Because they're so caught up in it.
And then we wonder why this world is such a F up at the moment.
It is. Sadly. Yeah.
Academics and the expectations
Oh.
when it comes to the marks.
Yeah.
I don't want to, sports a good thing. And I'm not
It
saying
is.
academics is not a good thing. But I've seen it with my own kids. I've
Yeah.
seen it with my son Lagan, who's in grade 9. And me and you spoke off this, and you told, like, you made me think, like, what a hard year grade 9 is. But the pressure that us as parents put on them just to even pass, you know, maybe they're battling in certain subjects, mathematics a big one, English another one, Afrikaans because we don't talk Afrikaans at home. But the pressure we put on them, how big is that?
It's huge.
And play a role in mental battles.
It's inherent in us that we never want to disappoint our parents. I don't think it matters how old we get. We never want to disappoint them. And when we're a child, that is even bigger. So we often see it with the children that there's all of a sudden a change in their behavior. Something happens, and the teachers can't really understand what it is. And only when it gets to the end of the term, they realize, sure, their marks have gone down. Those kids then get referred to us and we start working with them. And when we start unpacking why, what is it? A lot of them, it's every year. So grade 8, grade 9, 10, everyone has their own struggles. But a lot of it comes down to them either not fitting in, like I'm not the academic one and I'm not the sporty one. And I'm trying to balance it all.
Where am I?
Where am I? So I'm just
bubble.
dropping the ball. All right. Then we get some of those kids that they are academic, but they are so academic that they get pushed so hard that they have to be so perfect. And that perfectionism and that pushing actually makes them crumble. They don't want to disappoint their parents, so they keep pushing. Or my dad's a doctor or some, huge profession, and I need to now also do that.
I need to fill those shoes.
Some of our children, and I think this is the hardest one for me, because it's also like one of my big passions. It's like when we're getting to a child that's in grade 11 or grade 12, and they're finally being referred to us, and they've actually been struggling with a learning difficulty their whole life. And we're sitting there like, this should have been picked up when you were in grade 3. Do you know how much easier school could have been? And I think that's something I always say to parents, like, if your child is struggling more than what they should be academically, there's something wrong. Go and send them for an educational assessment, because they shouldn't be. Yes, if it is just that they're really bad at reading, but even that, we shouldn't be. So if there has to be an underlying issue that's there. So let's go, let's figure it out, and let's get them the support. The earlier we do the intervention, the better.
Grade 11 and 12 is too late.
It's way too late. By then, a lot of the times we can't, even if we're applying for accommodations and things, they won't even sometimes get approved because they're going, well, what's the possibility that they only need them now actually? But it's only ever being picked up now.
Yeah.
Academic pressure is huge. And I think we're in a generation where children don't quite get it because they sit with this thought of like, I don't need a paper at the end of the year. Like, please, mom. Like, please, dad. Like, the paper means nothing. Yeah. I'm going to go be an influencer. I'm going to go and trade on the stocks. Like, I don't need this piece of paper because I'm already in grade 10 and I'm earning so much money. This is what I hear from the kids all the time. I'm already investing and I'm like... And it's trying to get them to understand because the emphasis that we place on that piece of paper comes from our generation of what it actually means. Getting into university nowadays is not what it was like when we finished school.
For sure.
You know, it was a little bit more guaranteed as long as you got the marks. Nowadays,
no, I've got a daughter and a chick who's got the marks and she's waiting.
It's a different ballgame.
Yeah.
And that pressure is immense on our children because now I've not disappointed my parents. I've done everything I can and I still have not been accepted. Like, I'm not good enough. That's what they keep getting told. Not through the words, but through all the messages that they're receiving.
Nikita, so when that happens, and I'm probably asking for myself, but I'm sure there's so many parents out there. But when that happens, what do you as a parent do? You just said, the marks are there.
Yeah.
Everything's there. And the marks are in the high 70s, early 80s.
Where they need to be.
Like, you can't ask for anything else as a parent. And there's still, you're not getting into university. Like, how do you, as a parent, support that kid?
You hold that space for them. And that means you actually walk that road with them. We don't need to always be the tough parent. When our children are upset, sit with them. Be upset with them. Let them feel that it's like, I'm upset for you. We don't fuel the fire, but we sit in that emotion with them. And when they're then ready to carry on, it's about saying to them, what could plan B be? What could it look like? I'm here to walk it with you. Because life is hard.
Yeah.
And life knocks you down. And as soon as you're down, it knocks you down. And the sooner we can get our children to realize how hard life is, not too early. Like, we want them to stay innocent and enjoy life. But we also need to be building that resilience then because life is really hard. And as soon as they can realize, like, sure, I can actually get up and I keep going. Or I'm not going to get what I thought. Or I've worked really hard. Because as adults, the same thing happens. I've been working for that promotion. I was next in line. And guess what? You don't get it. And what do? You have to carry on. And we have to teach our children that this is part of life, part of growing, part of saying, is there something more I need to do? Do I need to look internally? Because often sometimes there is something we could do. Because it just means there's growth from this. Not that there's actually something wrong with me, but it's going, life didn't give me what I wanted, but now how can I keep moving forward from it? It is hard. It's really difficult for these kids nowadays.
Yeah. Why do kids feel that they can't talk openly about their pain?
I think the question is, why do kids feel they can't talk openly about their pain to their parents?
But that makes me happy because at least they're talking to someone, okay, like yourself. And that's also surprising for me, to be honest, that they're actually coming to you and talking to you.
Why do you
out of their own.
Yeah.
Well, personally, I'm looking back when I was a kid, I don't think I would walk into the counselor's office.
An appointment.
No. And actually, funny enough, I did speak to Reese about this. And I asked, what does her school do for mental health and all of this stuff? And she says, no, well, when something happens to a kid, they force them to go to the counselor, etc., blah, blah, blah. But, and she said she would never go to the counselor. So, yeah, like.
I do think that's the initial response. And I think most schools work in a very similar way, that there's different ways that children can be referred to you. So, and often if there has been something that's happened and a child's referred straight away, their response is, I don't want to talk to you. I don't need you. And all that I can do in that space is say, it's absolutely fine. And again, I hold that space for them. I share with them what therapy is. I share what I can do. And I leave them. And I promise you, they come back every single time. And it's all about how do you introduce it. Therapy is a voluntary thing.
It actually makes me happy that they do come back.
Yes, they do.
And they open up.
They open up. And But the sad thing is not every school can give the service
Yes,
to
I
our
was going to
kids.
get onto that too.
Yeah.
So now you get you,
Yes.
and you're part of many schools.
Yes.
But then you get a counselor, and I don't know, so I'm not knocking any profession or any job as a counselor. Is a counselor trained? Is a counselor, did the counselor study? Is she just a normal teacher? He just a normal teacher?
So I think that's going to depend on their qualifications, because I think the word counselor gets used quite loosely often, where someone that's maybe is a teacher and just done a little bit of a weekend course calls himself a counselor. Registered counselors, that's their term. They are proper studied, they've done an internship, they're registered with a health board. We work alongside very often registered counselors. The main difference between a registered counselor and a psychologist is that we can make the diagnosis and they can't. Other than that, they're allowed to also work. As long as they are trained and competent, they can work with any individual. We also get other types of counselors, where maybe you've seen ones that are called wellness counselors or specialist counselors. They're registered with other boards that we have. They're not recognized by our health board here in South Africa, but they do go through training. I believe, and the same that goes for like your life coaches and things like that. They've all been trained and they have to be registered to some degree. I believe that there's so many people in this world that need help. And if I'm not going to be the right fit for someone and you're going to prefer going to see a life coach, please do. If that means you're going to get the help you need, I will even make that referral for you, because I don't believe that you have to go see a psychologist and only psychologists can help. I believe that there's different forms. But yes, there are also people out there that are not properly trained, that are actually doing a lot more harm than good, and that I have seen from clients that have come to me afterwards and they tell me about who they've seen, and I'm like, oh gosh, I'm sorry for your experience. And it's hard because you now have got to heal that experience first before they gain trust in you, before you can even work on what they actually came to you for. So it is difficult.
Teachers and emotional damage. I knew you didn't want to talk about this one, but we have to.
We have to.
How much emotional damage can come from a teacher and the way the teacher interacts with the student? And I don't want to get attacked for this either. From any teacher that listens to this, I need to explain where this is coming from.
Yes.
When I grew up, when we caused crap in the classroom, we went to the principal and we got caned.
Yes.
Okay? There was a stick and he told us to bend and we went to the stick. Okay, then that type of punishment stopped, corporal punishment, whatever it was called. That stopped. Okay? What I found is punishment now comes from verbal. Okay, from the teachers, which I actually feel can cause more emotional damage than a stick on a bum can.
Yes.
Okay, or on the back of a leg, or whatever it was. What is your take on that?
But you're 100% correct. We say even the worst form of abuse is emotional abuse that someone can experience in their life. So,
and it's happening in the classroom.
It's happening in the classroom.
I've personally experienced it.
Yeah, and I think it's sad, but I think all of us have at one point. I think we can all think back to a time that we were sitting in class. I can even think back to a time that I was ridiculed so badly in class that I can remember, and I hate that teacher for it. Yes, I've forgiven her and I've worked through it, but I really hated that teacher for what she did, how she made me feel. And there are so many kids that on a daily basis are getting fed that. But the worst child that gets fed that is the one that's already struggling with a low self-confidence or anxiety or depression, or they're already at a place that they're feeling like suicidal ideation, and that teacher just has that one comment and again and again. Those kids remember that for their entire life. I also always put it into the perspective of the children that teachers are just human. And teachers are sometimes also just having a really bad day. It's not an excuse, but even as parents, sometimes we can shout at our children and be like, oh, I shouldn't have said it like that, or that sounded really bad. Teachers do the same things. But children, because teachers are kind of put on their pedestals of authority, they think that they shouldn't do anything wrong, but they do. And that's where children also need to have that little bit of grace with their teachers, say, you know what, they had a bad day. But teachers need to take that responsibility to then go up to their child and say, you know what, I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have said that to you. But they don't. Yes. Some do, but many don't. And I think if they did, those words wouldn't wound so deeply if that teacher could just go up to that child and say, you know what, I'm sorry for saying that. I always say to people, hurt people hurt. So if a teacher's in a bad space, she shouldn't take it out on you. She's going to hurt you. Not knowing, not intentionally, but it's just, I'm in a negative space. So I give off negative energy everywhere.
But that's also, and I know you said let's not put more up on the teachers, and I agree. They got a hell of a job.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's not easy. I hear all of that. But I do feel there's some sort of training that needs to constantly happen because you forget that.
Yes.
Just like we've got to go see a life coach, or we've got to carry on going to the gym or whatever. We become complacent. Same with the teacher.
Absolutely.
They forget that. So there's some sort of training that needs to happen in schools. And if it is happening, tell me. I don't think it is. How to deal with kids and emotional kids or kids that are failing. Do teachers know how to deal with kids that are failing? Let's read out the marks. Oh, Johnny, you got 12% for maths today. That's killing Johnny.
It is.
His peers are all yelling this. They are hearing this. And Johnny's going, what? You know.
Like, please, yeah.
So teachers aren't getting trained these things.
So teachers should be. So they have to do CPD training courses. They have to do so many points.
CPD, what's a CPD training course?
So every profession in South Africa, depending on who you're part of, you have to do so many points for your profession within here. So for teachers, they've got to do different training courses. They can select different ones that they would like that are
so
of
they've got
interest.
a choice.
Yes, correct. Some schools, right, they give their own training. So they keep it all in-house and they will choose like, okay, our staff are maybe struggling with stress. So let's do a talk and we bring in a professional in that space and we do a talk for our teachers. Okay. So that training should be happening.
Is this government and private schools?
It's across.
Okay.
Everyone has to be
IEB,
training
whatever. Okay.
To some degree. Same as psychologists, same as doctors. We all have to keep up to date with the most current research that is out there. So it's the same as teachers. If there's changes in learning difficulties, they should know that. And there are. I know particularly because I work at a government school, the department does do all that training. Yes, does everyone have access to it? Do they all know about it? Unfortunately not, or it's last minute. But that training is out there. Do the teachers feel like doing it at 2:30 on a Friday? No, they don't. And I think that's maybe where we're falling short, because teachers have had a long day and now they're still expected on top of that to go do that. So it nearly needs to be built into the system better, that it allows for teachers to have proper training. Exactly as you're saying, they need to be reminded of that. Teachers' well-being is just as important as our learners, because the learners want to come to them when they're in a place that they're struggling. But if the teachers can't be that person for them, that child goes, I reached out to the one person and they didn't respond correctly. So we need to be having wellness days for our teachers, and schools need to be training them on what is appropriate responses. What does it mean if I'm too stressed? Like, who can I go speak to in the school? A lot of the schools are now starting up that they have got, whether it's a psychologist internally that can see only the teachers, or they are then affiliated with a private company that then the school pays for those services for the teachers to go see a psychologist or a counselor, whatever it may be. And that's their way of supporting the teachers, because it is really stressful and difficult for them.
Okay, so there is things happening.
There is.
Because like you said, you can't blame a teacher when this happens, because she might have things in her own life that she's dealing with that she needs to sort out before she can help the kid. And I get that. What else can we use to hold teachers accountable for emotional damage without blame, actually, if that makes sense? So we don't want to blame them, because a lot of times it's probably not their fault.
It's not.
Okay, and they didn't mean it that way. They snapped because the kid before also pushed them and pushed them.
And you were just
just like parents snap, like you said. But there must be something that we can hold them accountable to when it comes to our kids, especially in a private school.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I'm paying a hell of a lot of school fees. For a teacher to emotional damage my child, there's a problem. Yeah. Okay, for that school fees that I'm paying, that school should make sure that teacher is trained, is seeing a psychologist,
if that's what they need.
If that's what they need, etc. The school should be making sure of that.
Absolutely.
Not the teacher. The school should be going,
agreed.
Mrs. So-and-so, you're going to go see the psychologist today. Yeah. You're not okay.
If you know that emotional abuse is happening to a child, as the parent, you can go and bring that up, adult to adult, go
Yeah.
have that conversation. We can't expect our children to sometimes do that. That's too difficult. But it's all about how we do it. As
The children can tell the parents though.
Ah, okay. So you're saying, I maybe know this is
Yes.
happening in the class, but I'm
Yeah.
actually not aware of it fully, but I can see maybe my child's
Yeah.
not happy with certain
Because my
features.
child feels like he's done wrong.
Mm.
So he's not going to come tell me, today, Mr. So-and-so said X, Y, and Z to me.
Mm.
But what was he doing in class? He was talking to his friend.
Yeah, for example.
So he's done wrong too, but the way it was handled was incorrect. So I don't know about it as a parent.
Correct.
Like, I don't know. Should there be cameras in the classroom now? Are there cameras in classrooms? I don't think, my kids are in private schools. I don't know of cameras in the classroom. But maybe that's an option. I don't know.
Yes. To try actually get the evidence.
Yeah.
It's a difficult one because I think
Well, not even evidence. I think it should be looked over randomly.
yeah.
We're going to choose this classroom today and look over what happened during the day and see how the teacher handled things.
See,
And it's not to
yeah,
blame them, like I say, it's to help them.
correct.
Our schooling systems are failing the kids at the moment. Never mind the parents
Yeah.
that are paying a lot of money for it. I feel our schooling systems are failing the kids, and private schools are failing the kids.
Yes.
Okay? And I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong. Go for me. You're allowed
I
to.
do agree. And I think maybe I've got a bit of a biased opinion because of where I work.
But that's why
But
you're
I
here.
can
Go
say,
for me.
that yes, so I think I had the same idea as you, that like sure, everything's falling apart. Like one day, when my kid has to go to high school, like where would they even go? Like, and the past 2 years, working within the all boys school community, my eyes have been opened. The work that is happening across private and government schools, but all boys schools, is absolutely amazing. Internationally, across countries now, they have a whole organization that is doing a whole lot of research, that's bringing in programs that we meet once a year and we discuss what are the difficulties and how are we adapting different things. And when you attend a conference like that and you see the investment that they are making in our country, in our generation, within our future boys, our leaders, and I can't say the same is not happening in all girls schools, I'm not part of that, and I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah.
But when you see that, that is exciting. And that's saying that there is still going to be hope in our education systems. Absolutely. It's getting there. It is slow. I think that comes down to the country we live in, though, more than
Yes.
anything else. But it is going to happen. We speak about the training for the teachers and why are we not checking the classrooms. All of that happens. That's part of it, just as if you were in a corporate and then you got reviewed on your work and you had KPIs. And same thing happens in the classroom, but it looks very different. You've got to be able to show what worked. People come and watch your classes and they check how you're teaching. Yes, obviously you're going to teach you and you can be on your best behavior when someone is, sitting in on your class. But those checks are there. So the schools are trying their best.
So there is proactive actions
Absolutely.
happening in the schools.
Yes, there is.
Okay.
There is. So it's not all doom and gloom as it
No,
may seem.
I want to hear that there's hope. That's what I want to
And I
hear.
think that's exciting, that there is so much hope and there's so much investment that's happening within our schools to grow them. And I'm saying even internationally that they're saying we want these to be the best schools, and they can be. I mean, like I'm saying, I work majority in all boys school community, and that's what's like nearly brought the fire out to me to be like, I'm so excited for the next generations. I want to help build the resilience in these kids. I want to help make them the best that they can be now so that they can face life, because you want to be able to give to that because you can see what the whole project and what it's trying to develop. Yeah.
I can imagine how amazing it is also seeing your kid out of school. When I say your students
Oh, yes.
that you've dealt with and helped in a bad space, and now they're excelling as an adult.
Absolutely.
I mean, that must be the most amazing experience. A very shitty subject.
Yeah.
But I think it needs to be touched
Yeah.
on. When I met you for the first time, we spoke about suicide.
Yes.
And I want to throw something else in, self-harm.
Yeah.
Because I think that's something else I've heard from someone else. But what typically drives a student to that level? I mean, it blew my mind when you told me grade 9 is the worst year for suicides. I couldn't believe grade 9 is so early on. I thought it's a matric student that will go commit suicide because of finals and prelims. But grade 9, I mean, what drives a student to that? Because, it's not
Yeah.
bullying anymore. I know bullying was a big thing in school, but I think
Yes.
I won't say we've controlled bullying, but I don't think bullying happens that much like we know bullying.
In the school, but online.
Yes, online bullying
It's
is a whole
happening.
different subject.
Yes.
I'm talking about school bullying where you get your head dunked in the toilet
Yes.
or your pants gets pulled down on the school field in front of everyone.
However, I'm capturing it now on video, maybe you falling, and I'm posting it online.
Yes.
So it's still bullying.
Okay.
And it's still happening in school. And we're on a chat group and we've added everyone, but not you. It's still a form of bullying.
Yeah.
Okay. So bullying has evolved into how we define it. But
and we think it's not happening as the older generation, but it actually is.
It is still very. I know sometimes you wish just have a fight and we can see it and get it over and done with and carry on. Because online the bullying is there. So grade 9 is a difficult year. Grade 8 is hard because we're getting there and we're adjusting. We're trying to figure out what is this high school thing, like how do I do it? But you're just trying to get the hang of the adjustments phase of things. Grade 9 is even harder because you should have adjusted, but some kids still haven't adjusted to the demands of high school. I'm trying to figure out friends. I haven't found friends. Grade 9 is normally a year where most kids want to leave the school and go to a different school, and because this school's not right for me. But it's actually because a lot of things they haven't figured out within themselves still. They're at that year, like I said previously, where their peers' opinions are so important and they're not maybe getting that feedback that they need. Maybe life at home is also really difficult. Don't have a good relationship with my parents. I'm alone. It is hard. And then certain things start kicking in, like I'm feeling a lot of anxiety because maybe my marks I'm struggling there, or I'm not getting I'm not getting into the right sports teams. And then that anxiety forms into depression because now it's carried on for so long that my whole self-concept is now lower about what I think about myself because I'm not getting into teams. Well, I'm not good enough. Oh, you see, I'm stupid. I can't get the marks, even though my parents are pushing me to get them. My parents aren't being supportive, especially for kids that are in boarding and things. It's really isolating to be away from their families. So that depression is then there, and they don't know how to cope with it. Girls, on one hand, think about suicidal ideation the most. So suicidal ideation is when they think about taking their life, all right? And then they often start with the self-harming. Some, it's visible. We will see it visibly on their arms. It can be forearms. It can be even on their arms over here. But some of them also do it a lot more discreetly, where it'll be like in their inner thighs and things where, even as a parent, you would never ever know that that's where your child is cutting themselves. Boys, on the other hand, are quite different, where when they get to that point where they want to take their life, they do it. They don't have suicidal ideation for as long as a girl, and it keeps coming and it's going and stuff. Boys, and in South Africa, are 4 times more likely to commit suicide than a girl, which is scary. And we are seeing it when we know in the schools, in the communities that we've worked in, we've heard it, it's been on the news, that we know that our young children have taken their own lives.
What are the signs that parents and schools miss when it comes to suicidal thoughts and self-harming?
It's a difficult one because sometimes children, they learn to cope with it quite well. So sometimes they don't show any sign of it. But normally it's hidden. So it's hidden. Normally there's a pattern. Normally where it's, okay, my child's hit a bit of a depression, but they're fine. And then a depression again, and they're fine. It's very rare that the suicide comes totally out of the blue. When after we speak to parents, they'll always say, like, child was actually suffered from depression or was always quite withdrawn. So those are your signs. As soon as your child, there's a shift in their behavior. They loved going to soccer. Now all of a sudden, it's you dragging their feet to get them there. Red flag. Why? All right. Things that they used to love, they're no longer enjoying. A change in the way that they're sleeping, too much or too little. Change in eating, too much, too little. Seeing their weight, becoming obsessed with certain things. Right. Also, we've got to know it's age appropriate. So going to gym excessively at points in the boys' lives may be age appropriate, but is it too excessive? Do we need to talk to them about that? All right. Those are the signs. If they all of a sudden loved going out with their friends and now they don't, or there's a shift in their friendship group, those are the times that we need to just be checking in with our kids. And often Even if you do ask your kid, are you okay?
Yeah.
You're going to say,
I was going
I'm
to say,
fine.
how do we check in? That was my next question.
I'm fine, because that's their standard response and they know it gets their parents off their back. But if you have that feeling, because you do as a parent, you know your children so well, start speaking to them about, can I send you to someone? Would you be open to going to speak to someone? And if you as a parent have been to a therapist before, share that experience with them. You don't have to share why you went, but just, I was struggling. This is what it helped me through. Because while I'm modeling to my kid, this is a tool that helped me. I'm not a professional. As a parent, you've got to remember you are not a professional in mental health space. So you can't help your kid, even if they do tell you what's wrong with them. So rather get them that right help. And it's hard as a parent. I know when I work, the first session I always do with the kid, if they're under the age of 18, is I contract with the parents in the room so that the parent is aware of what I'm allowed to share. Because of confidentiality, I can really not share a lot with you unless your child is hurting themselves, going to hurt someone else, or someone's hurting them. Other than that, everything else is confidential. As a parent, you know something's wrong with your child. You just got to trust this process. And it takes a lot for a parent.
That is hard.
That is hard.
That is hard.
Yeah. But it does help. It does. And I think it's trusting that's why we're here. That's the process. So if you do see the shift in your child, get them the help that they need. If they don't need it and they don't want it, at least you can say, I've tried that. And it's also to remember there's so many different types of therapy. Talk therapy is not for everyone. All right, we get Lego therapy nowadays. You get therapy with the horses, you get therapy with the dogs, you get so many different types. So you need to also figure out what is right for my child and what works for them. And I think that's finding the right psychologist or registered counselor who knows the different disciplines that can then say, right, let's try some different things. Let me send you to this person. They've been through a lot of trauma. Maybe you want to refer them for TRE, like a whole lot of different things to try and figure out what works for your child.
So the teachers at the schools spend the most time with the
Yes.
kids. So they're probably going to know when a child is in distress before the parent.
They do.
How should a teacher respond if they see a child in distress?
I think a lot of teachers, well, and maybe it's just the experience that I've been fortunate to have, that teachers do respond quite well, that they do normally alert the parents. If a school has got a referral system for psychology or counseling, the teachers are quite good at referring for that. If the school has put that system in place, if the school is on board with it, if the school has made mental health a priority, and I think that comes from the top down, where the principal's saying, let's all, this is important.
Yeah. It's got to be a passion of the principal.
Absolutely. And then by doing that, I know when I've got to stand up and speak at the school and say, this is what we refer, this is what we do. That is us psychoeducating those teachers of saying, these are the signs. When you're picking up these things, please refer the kid to me. If you know straight away that child has lost their parent, please refer the kid to me, because I don't know everything that's happening. So yes, the teachers, I think, are, if the systems are in place for them, they are quite good at using them. When it's not, when the system isn't there at a school, then we have to rely on the teacher hopefully being able to reach out to the parents, giving them a call. And I think sometimes teachers get so caught up that it's quite difficult to pick up the phone and go, hi, this is your son, he's struggling, or your daughter, whatever it may be. And they forget to sometimes have that follow through, because you don't have a lot of contact with the teachers. When do you get to see them? That they have that opportunity.
But one of my kids' teachers walking here, I probably won't even know it's
exactly
their teacher.
Yeah.
My Reese doesn't battle at school, so there's no reason to see. She's not naughty. She doesn't smoke. She doesn't drink. So I don't know the teachers. Yeah.
So it's hard because they don't have that connection anymore, or the parents don't have the connection anymore with the teachers, where there used to be a lot more of that, where you would know, especially in primary school, I think that happens a lot more because you maybe have one teacher that teaches a lot of the subjects and it's a lot smaller. High school's difficult.
You don't know the teachers.
You don't. And somehow we rely on teachers, and that's where I think having a good relationship with our children is so important. It's also difficult. And I always say this to the kids, because they'll say to me, like, oh, my parents don't know what they're doing. And I say to them, you were not born with a manual. I wish your parents would wish, like, where's the manual on how to do this? And I say to them, you have to use your words. Your parents can't read your mind. They don't know what's happening inside of you. And the best thing that I've done was when I work with a child and I get to the point that I can bring the parents into the space, and then we work on this relationship. Because how do we communicate? Because the way you're responding is because of your trauma, because of your childhood, which is probably not the right thing for this child. So we need to work through that, all right? And it doesn't always mean that it's with me. It means you can go do it if you want. But also if you don't want to work through that, we just need to get this communication right so that there can be open communication in a way that is appropriate. Not that the parents are now friends and there's no more consequences and boundaries and routine. That doesn't also help a child. So how do we do that in a balanced way that can foster a really good relationship? And as a child, I know that if I go to my parent, they're going to respond appropriately if I'm in help, if I need help in any way.
We've realized now the mental health crisis is real in schools.
Yes.
Okay. We've also realized not every school is equipped for it.
Yeah.
How important is it for running school to be equipped for it? Should that be a reason for my kid to be going to that school? Should I go, when I go see a school in for my kid going to grade 8, what do you do for mental health? Should be a question.
And it should be. And it doesn't mean that the school has to then have, a lot of the government schools are given a post for a social worker. So it doesn't mean there has to be a designated person to the school. But it can be, what is the school doing? What are their big projects? Do they have a little committee, whether it's of learners, whether it's of teachers, that are putting together something that creates that awareness, that creates a school that's saying, this is a safe space that we talk about. Are we bringing in guest speakers that are talking about it? Are we doing workshops with our kids? That's what the culture of the school needs to develop. A bonus if the school can afford to have a professional there, an absolute bonus, because not every school can. But the culture of mental wellness still needs to be there. So yes, that is something that I do think every school should be doing.
If you can change one thing in the school system to promote mental health,
Sure.
What would it be? Because it sounds like the school system that you're in is doing a great job. And I've experienced your school system because I was invited to do a talk at the school. And I've seen they're doing a great job. I mean, the boys even came and spoke to me and sat with me in a circle afterwards and was honest with me. I was taken back by that. So you're in a school that's doing everything for mental health currently.
We hope so. I hope so.
Yes, you're doing your best. Let's put it that
absolutely.
way. What other schools that aren't doing, what would it be? The first thing, what would you say to them? Change this, do that, in your experience.
I think something that maybe I've developed at the school, and I think that's where it all feeds off, is having, and I've called it a wellness department. And from that, we've got the projects and this talks and everything. So, and it doesn't cost us a lot of money to be able to do that. And that's where it doesn't matter which school it is, you can do that. So if a school can do one thing, and that means run campaigns for mental health, whether it's putting up signs around the school, taking an assembly and having a talk about it, inviting guest speakers, and I promise you, like, I never realized how passionate the boys also were about it. So when I started up a project at the school called Projects Is Where, which is about Project Voice, and it's all about the boys speaking about mental health, they were so passionate about this. Cost us nothing. Yes, it's their time, but they are so excited.
I got goosebumps.
That they get to put together short little clips. They get to interview people who've had a difficulty in their life and how they've overcome it. So amazing. If a school can just do one thing about creating awareness, that is it. And then we always say at the end of our videos, if you need help, this is where you can go. And we list there, SADAC, Lifeline, those places that they can get free help within the community. Not every school has to have a psychologist, but you have to have one dedicated person whose role, or even if it becomes the extramural, whatever it is the mental health of that school, that you've got your policies in place, you know what your safety procedures are, that you're educating the teachers on how things should happen. What happens if a child comes and they report to me they're feeling depressed? What happens if a child loses their parent? What are the processes that your school follows? For all of that, whether it's referring externally because you've got connections with certain psychologists and they give reduced rates, but have a structure that allows for you to support your children. Speak about it. Mental health should not be this taboo thing anymore.
Yeah.
We all struggle with it at some point in our life because life is so hard.
And I think a school can change that.
Yes. And if we change it from young, then we're raising children that are going, it's okay that today's a really hard day, but how did I manage it? How did I overcome that? As an adult, you're going to be able to manage life.
Yeah. And it will help everything, your relationships, how to communicate with your wife, your husband,
how to
whatever
fight
it is.
properly, all these things.
Yeah. And even like while you were talking, I was thinking it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't need to cost money.
Yeah.
So school can't go and say, oh, sorry, we don't have money to do this. That's why we're not doing it. Have you even sat down with your teachers and said, let's be honest, teachers, who's battled with depression?
Exactly.
I can tell you now, half those teachers would probably put up their hands. Yeah. Teachers, who's had an alcohol problem? Do you want to come talk to the boys? You clean for
real life.
Yeah. Because the teacher comes out and opens up. I can promise you now the kids will open up.
Absolutely. And we are so fortunate that there are just so many resources out there on the internet that you can easily be putting together little workshops, and it can be like a little bit of an extramural that if we're doing this theme today, anyone that wants to come into school, we're talking about grief. Okay, and then we talk through it. Okay, now, and you also don't have to be a trained professional just to share that, because you can get that information freely on the internet. You're not doing therapy. You're just doing a workshop. Very, very different. And a workshop you are allowed to do. Yes, you can't sit and do therapy with these kids because you're not trained to do that. And that could do a lot more harm. But definitely we can have conversations. We can talk. We can make it that this is the thing. Let us all to our mental health. Let us be going up to people when we can see that they're not all right. Let's check in with our friends. That's the type of conversations that we need to keep going so that it doesn't be, when I am going through a difficult time, it's not this big burden that I have to share it with someone.
Schools, parents, teachers, I think those 3 things, eh?
Yes.
And then professional psychologists. Okay, let's throw the 4th one in there. What can they do to work together better? Like for mental health.
Mental health.
Because I'm sure there's parents out there, a social worker reaches out to them. There's nothing wrong with my kid. Just
yeah.
Goodbye.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Because it's hard for us to believe that.
It is.
We don't want to believe there's something wrong.
Yes.
How can we all work together?
It might be a bit of a cliche response, but I really want to say we need to learn to trust each other. Because I need to, even though I'm the professional in this space, I need to trust you as the parent, because you're the professional in the parental space. The teacher is the professional in that space. And if we can all trust each other and work together and trust that the teacher will do the right thing and let me know if something's wrong with my child, and trust that if the child needs help, but that trust needs to be formed on the right foundation, and that is if the schools are promoting the mental health, if the teachers are getting the training and the insight, if the parents are responding appropriately, if they have a relationship with their child, if all of that is happening, then we need to just trust each other that when you do refer your kid to me, that I am going to be able to work with them and get them to that right space. But I also need to listen to you and involve you in that process as I would with the teacher. So for me, I think if we can get that foundation right by speaking more about mental health, which I think is happening, and I think it's really exciting that it is, then the next step will happen. That if we can trust, and as a parent here, that, and it's not that there's something wrong with your child. I think I always feel like I don't like being safe, because it's something like there's a space that needs a bit of growth. That's what it is right now. It's not like there's this label and we need to put it on you. So as a parent, you need to accept that it's not you. You didn't do something wrong.
Yeah.
And I think
that's what it is.
That
we blame
you
ourselves.
defend. You get defensive straight away.
We put up that wall.
Yes. It's like, no, we just say there's something here. Your child may be feeling unheard. Your child's maybe fighting with you all the time. Like, just let us help. But we also need to know our space and let you come in when you need to.
Yeah. So it's a win-win for everyone.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where we're going to end off this podcast. I can't believe we're already
on
an hour. And we did start a little bit earlier, so we're over the hour. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolute pleasure.
And I'm sure if you will come back, because I think this is something we need to talk about. And it's something that has been, I think we keep quiet about these things because it's hard.
Yes.
And it's painful. It's our kids.
But then we're teaching our children to be quiet about it. So we need to speak up.
Yes,
we need to model that.
I think the more people that talk about it, the better.
Absolutely.
Nikita, thank you. You're doing an amazing job with those boys. I'm sure people are going to put 2 and 2 together where you work. Send your boys to that school. I've seen it personally. Thank you for joining me. It's been awesome for your time. Go enjoy the last few days of the holidays.
I will.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Been a privilege. And hopefully these conversations definitely carry on so that we can make sure our future generations are empowered and resilient and can make it through life.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.